I hope that, if this does become a film, that it will encourage people to find their own way, that it's not the way I pinch or the way I doodle or the way, it's just do something. Start with pleasure. Make a list of all the things that are pleasurable in your life, and then make an art form out of one of them. And if you're courageous, make a list of all the things that are difficult in your life, and make an art form of them.
Someday I'm going to ask my friend Paulus, the dancer, the potter, to make me a begging bowl, which I believe my soul needs. And if I come to you to the door of your comfortable house with unwashed clothes and unclean fingernails, will you put something into it? I would like to take this chance. I would like to give you this chance.
One morning, I was not very good at meditating then, and my body hurt and everything. So I slipped out and went down to the studio and wedged a ball of clay and was about to get onto the wheel. But I sat down and held the clay in my hands and closed my eyes, and finally, for the first time in my life, really meditated. And when I opened my eyes, there was this pinch pot. It was a simple little pinch pot. And then I couldn't stop pinching because it's radical presence. Like with each pinch, you're there, you're there.
You held the clay and you pinched your first pinch pot, and then you set about revolutionizing the pinch pot industry with your colors and
That's right.
And your book.
And it was a shock to me that it touched so many people. I mean,
it sure did. It was such a remarkable book.
Even myself, not interested in clay, but having read it, you realize that there's a way of bringing technique and heart together. And that has been for a lot of people around the world. There's hardly any potter that's a production potter or an art potter who doesn't have a copy of it in their library.
When I first began, I was a production potter. I had one show in which I made enough money to buy the farm. My work sold, but I didn't like selling it. People would come up to me and they would hesitate because it was they couldn't afford it, and I found myself starting to give them the pot. I remember specifically one day, a woman with a child came up and she loved a couple of my mugs, and when I told her they were $10 each, I could see that was a lot for her. And so I handed her the pots, and I got such a rush of joy doing that. And then when I started to pinch, it was because of a dream. I think I've told you this dream in which I saw my hand descending into the body of the earth and coming up with a handful of clay and blowing it into this beautiful pinch pot. And then to my shock, I saw myself putting it back into the earth. And I mean, that started a couple of decades or more where almost every pot I made, I returned to to the earth, and I loved that. We began with our hands and feet on the earth. You know, our hands and feet were on the earth. So we were, in a sense, we were wedging the clay with every step we took. We were engaged with the earth. There are 9,000 sense receptors per square inch of fingertip. Walking on the earth, just our being was wedging the earth, that we had a reciprocal relationship with the earth. And we've lost our imagination for that. And I don't mean that we should get down on our hands and feet all day, but every child should put hands on clay just as a way of awakening their fingertips, giving them an imagination for that anything they touch is touching them. You know, when I started as a potter, they said clay was inert, was an inert material. But now we know from NASA and from other geologists that there would be no DNA on this planet if it weren't for clay. Clay is our mother, as Native Americans knew, and stone is our grandmother. It's not a nice idea, it's a reality. We have a colloidal, clay-like body. The word art, the etymological root comes from the word joint, to join, so that one is behaving artistically when one brings oneself to an activity totally, with real presence, physical, spiritual, mindful presence. Yes, and you can do that as a school teacher, yeah, absolutely. So when I say behaving artistically, I'm not talking about the art world, which has in my lifetime been usurped by economics and politics. You know, who's the hot artist? For me, Andy Warhol and Koons and Damien Hirst, their work does not interest me at all. But some of the people that I've taught who started to make art in their 50s and 60s after their children have grown have experiences that move the hell out of me. Some of my students would be upset that their work didn't sell. You know, they'd make all this work and it didn't sell in the galleries. And I would, you know, say, well, give it away. Or return it to the earth. Or place it someplace anonymously. It's not a way of making a living, it's a way of making a life.
Paulus says, this place is a monastery on behalf of the human hands. He's communicating at a level that speaks very deeply to us. He delivers it in a way that's full of lightness and joy, and yet at the same time you know how really deep and intense this belief is.
I consider the craft arts as the finest arts of the 21st century because we're in profound need of healing. We've lost our imagination for the earth. We have a Senate that is denying the reality of our endangered earth and air. And we craftspeople have a moral imperative to sing up the earth.